Hey there, this video is for new moms or mothers that are expecting. And if you're planning on breastfeeding, there was a lot of misinformation that I received and that friends of mine have received when they were starting out on their breastfeeding journey. And so I'm hoping to make this video to help you help your baby through those so exciting first few months when you're so tired and you're trying to figure everything out. So hopefully this helps you. So I myself have a daughter who is about to turn 2, and I'm still breastfeeding, and it's going really well, and I'm really grateful for that. I spent a lot of time during the first so many months that I was nursing my daughter reading quite a bit, and I read in books and articles. I met with 2 lactation consultants. I read a lot on forums with other moms who were further along in their breastfeeding journey, or new moms that were asking the same questions over and over again. So I kind of have a lot of understanding about this topic. So one of the first things is when you first are at the hospital and you have your baby, they suggest that you nurse your baby every 2 to 3 hours, and then after you nurse the baby every 2 to 3 hours, you're supposed to pump every 2 to 3 hours to help the milk come in. And I was told this, and all new moms are told this. And I'll tell you the truth, what most people realize after their first baby, or even just really quickly into the journey, some people realize this and some don't. You don't really have to do the pumping every 3 hours in the middle of the night if you don't feel like it, because you know what's more important right now? You getting some sleep. I mean, seriously, you're so dead tired. You don't need to sit up at midnight or 3 in the morning pumping after you nurse your baby. Nurse your baby and go back to bed. When you pump at 8 in the morning later on, you'll just have a lot more milk that comes out when you pump, and then you can just bottle that and feed the baby that later. You don't really have to pump every 3 hours, especially in the middle of the night, if you're really more interested in getting some sleep. And honestly, it's probably better for your health anyways. Another thing is you don't really have to pump every 3 hours after a while. After the milk comes in, you don't really need to pump at all anymore. You can just breastfeed your baby directly. Some people think, oh, I'm going to have this huge freezer stash of all of this milk. I see more often than not that people stash all of this milk and then don't end up using it, and then they have to donate it right before it's about to expire. The whole thing is just really kind of wasteful, and your body is having to produce all of that milk. It's using calcium and nutrients and healthy fats that could be going to your bones and your brain to stash stuff in a freezer that you may or may not even need. It's kind of excessive, if you ask me. So I did pump for a while because I was going to work, and I was pumping while I was at work. If you need to pump while you're at work to keep your milk production up, that's definitely important. Every 3 hours, if you're not nursing your baby, you should pump to keep your milk production up. But if you're nursing your baby on demand at home all day, every day anyways, you don't even need to keep pumping. Your pump can just collect dust, or you can donate it to somebody who needs it. You can just, breastfeed your baby directly. Okay, here's another thing about breastfeeding your baby directly. People think that they have milk supply issues a lot of the time when they don't even have milk supply issues because they're pumping, and they don't see a lot of milk being pumped. And so they're like, oh, so-and-so on Instagram or so-and-so on YouTube is getting 4 to 6 ounces every time they pump, and they have a huge freezer stash, and I'm only getting 1 to 2 ounces. I must have low milk supply. Okay, first off, if you're breastfeeding your baby directly, you don't need to be pumping that much to begin with. Second of all, how much you pump is not an indicator of your milk supply, because your baby is way better at extracting the milk from your boob than even the world's greatest breast pump could possibly be. And you probably don't have the world's greatest breast pump. To tell you the truth, most breast pumps are not very efficient. There are all these little rubbery movable membranes on the breast pump that wear out rather quickly. Some companies say to replace them after your first baby. Some places say to replace them every 6 months. Honestly, some people have had to replace them every 3 months to see the amount that they want to pump in the pump. It has nothing to do with you or your milk supply a lot of the time. It can just have to do with your breast pump. Your baby could be getting a ton of milk. If you really want to know how much milk your baby is getting, you don't have to do this. But if you really wanted to know, you could weigh your baby before the feed and after the feed and see how many ounces they gain during that breastfeeding section, and then you'd know, how much they're actually getting. But if your baby is gaining weight, your baby is growing, your baby is satiated after they've been fed. I have a whole video on these cues, how many wet diapers they have. I'll link the video below, how to tell if your baby's getting enough breast milk. But honestly, your baby's probably fine. And a lot of people stress out unnecessarily. Oh, stress is bad for milk production. A lot of things are good for milk production. I can link some videos about that. I have a whole 4-part series on milk production and ways to increase milk production. But I did want to mention here that it's like a common misconception that you just drink more water to stay hydrated. And that can actually throw off your electrolyte balance. So if you're just drinking a bunch of water, you might not be actually hydrating yourself the way you need to. I recommend drinking coconut water, or if you can't stand coconut water, I love coconut water. If you can't stand coconut water, try Body Armor. It's a electrolyte beverage that's got coconut water and like a ton of sugar in it. Probably not the healthiest thing, but you could try that if you can't stand coconut water. My series on milk production, though, has stuff about smoothies and hydration and nutrition and all sorts of tips and tricks to increase your milk production. All right, another thing that people often are confused about is thinking that they're not having milk production because their boobs don't get hard. It used to be like a myth that your boobs had to be hard in order for you to be producing enough milk to feed your baby. That's not true. Your baby can be getting a ton of milk without your boobs ever feeling hard. My boobs hardly ever felt hard in the last 2 years, and my baby is she's above the 99th percentile for height, and she's in like the 86th percentile for weight. I have a big, healthy, brilliant baby who's ahead of the curve on all of her milestones. So my baby's nourished. And I know that my milk production is great, even though my breasts have never gotten hard. Another thing that a mother told me is one of her friends told her she had to wear a a type of breast pump on her other nipple while she's breastfeeding at night because she was going to be leaking all over the place and it would catch the milk. And yeah, you'll leak a little bit, but it's really not that bad. And if you just wear like pads for that, then it'll absorb enough to where it's not a big deal. I mean, yeah, if you want to catch it, you can. They make little things for that too. But those suction pumps actually cause your body to produce more milk because it tricks your body into thinking somebody's sucking on the other boob while your baby's sucking on this boob. And that makes your body work way harder to produce more milk. And so you end up with this whole pump full of milk that you wouldn't have necessarily had if you hadn't been wearing something that had suction and pump to it. And so what that does is it leaches more calcium out of your body, and then you put it in the fridge or the freezer and it's not as fresh. And if you don't end up using it or you spill it in the middle of the night, then it's just going to waste. Alright, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. And I'll link those other videos below if you're interested in telling if your baby's getting enough breast milk and ways to increase your supply if you are concerned about that. If there are any common misconceptions that I missed that you can think of, feel free to include those in the comments because that would help other people. If you like my video, feel free to like my video. And hey, you can help me out if you subscribe to my channel. Also, I just want to say hey to all the people that did subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate you. I know I haven't made a video in like over a month, and I've just been really busy and working on some other things. Also, I wanted to let you know I found out that I'm pregnant with my second child, and so that's really exciting, but I'm really tired and nauseous. And my baby's asleep right now, and I'm going to get this posted, and then I may take a nap. Alright, well, I'm wishing you and your family all the best. Take care.